What's going on, guys? Devil's Advocate Boxing. I'm gonna do a little response video to the video that 7/8 Sports TV and Bloodboxing put out. They did a little debate on whether or not Floyd Mayweather Jr. is a top 20 all-time great. And yeah, I just want to elaborate on that a little bit, give my input. Um, First of all, what I want to talk about is the fact that I think a big issue on the YTBC is that people have different definitions of different words, such as the word great. Um, some people will say that Jack Johnson was the greatest fighter of all time because he was the first black heavyweight champion. Some people will call Muhammad Ali the best or the greatest fighter of all time because um, he transcended the sport. At one point in time, Ali was not only known as a boxer, but he was the most famous person on the planet. Okay, that's a fact. Um, and, you know, to me, neither of those things define greatness. All I want to know is who the best fighter is, who the most skilled fighter is, okay? To put it in layman's terms, which fighter had the highest percentage of winning any given fight, beating any given fighter at any given time, okay? Um, and that's what I'm going to base my argument off of. Uh, First of all, I want to pay my respects to both of these guys. I respect both of these guys a lot. As a matter of fact, I think that 7/8 Fight News and Bloodboxing, along with Dante 562, were probably some of the first channels that I ever subscribed to on YouTube. Um, you know, I learned a lot from these guys, or I learned a lot from you guys. And hopefully, Bloodboxing, you keep an open mind, and maybe I can open your eyes to a few things. This is not a diss video. Like I said, I respect you, but at the same time, I am gonna have to disagree with you. I do believe, and if you're subscribed to my channel, if you've watched my previous videos, you know my stance on Floyd Mayweather Jr. I think that he is quite possibly the best fighter to ever put gloves on, skill-wise, and I'm siding with 7/8 in this argument. So let's get right into it. I already explained the definition, okay? So, as you know, we're talking about pound for pound, who the best fighter of all time was. If, and I'm talking to you, Blood, if you're basing your your list on the greatest fighters on something like who had the most classic fights, or who was the biggest role model, or who did the most for black people, or something like that, I'm going to go ahead and forfeit this debate right now because, like I said, my criteria is a little bit different. I am only speaking about who is the best. Alright? And another thing, I gotta make a little disclaimer. Or not really a disclaimer, I just gotta clarify that when you're talking about pound for pound, especially when you're comparing different eras, it is all speculation. Okay? There's a lot of opinion involved. As soon as you mention the word pound for pound, it really becomes all about speculation from that point on. I mean, we can say that Floyd Mayweather would beat Vitaly Klitschko if they were the same size until we're blue in the face, but the fact of the matter is, we don't know, and we never will know because, they'll never fight, and if they do, it wouldn't be a fair fight. So, like I said, keep in mind, this entire discussion about who is the best of all time, to a certain degree, is very opinionated, okay? It's all speculation. But let's get into some of the things that you like to talk about. Um, you want to say that the way that boxing is today, with all the alphabet belts and all the media hyping and stuff like that, makes makes boxing a very, very unclear picture. It's hard to really see who the best out there is because of the promotional feud and all the belts. But in my opinion, regardless of all the belts or not, we are still seeing the best fighters out there fight each other. Okay, the ranking system that we have right now, whether it's exact or not, I mean, we might not have the number one contender status that we used to back in the day, but I think that the rankings right now are still showing us who the best fighters in each division are. And they are fighting each other, okay? I think that we can still see who the best fighter in each division is, alright? Um, and the fact that you want to blame Floyd Mayweather for contributing to the way boxing is going today, I think that's ridiculous. Believe it or not, Blood, you and Floyd Mayweather actually have the same view on this. I don't remember exactly which page put up the article, but there is an interview with Floyd Mayweather where he's talking about how we need to clean up boxing. He's talking about how there's too many belts and the politics of the game are just ruining things, okay? So I'm going to have to completely agree with 7-8 on that point, that it is not Floyd Mayweather's fault at all. And for you to blame him, I think, is kind of ridiculous. And not only that, but he's fighting the best guys out there. Before the Canelo fight, I didn't hear you have any problems with the fact that he was fighting Canelo. As a matter of fact, like I said, Blood, I've been subscribed to your page forever. I probably listened to every single one of your videos. I remember you specifically saying that Floyd is finally giving us a fight that we want to see. He's finally stepping up. But after the fight happens and he makes this kid look ordinary, now, all he's doing is fighting flat-footed Mexicans. Unfair. Completely unfair, in my opinion. That'll lead me to my next point, that you want to say that Floyd Mayweather Jr. has not fought enough slick black fighters, okay? And that's fine. I agree. I think that he does, he has fought slick black fighters in the past, but as of late, he wants to fight the Mexicans because of the money. I agree with that. He needs to switch it up a little bit. He needs to give us a fight with another slick black fighter. However, the problem that I have with that is you want to put all these other guys up there like Sugar Ray Robinson and Joe Louis and all those guys, Jack Johnson, and they didn't fight any slick black fighters either, and if they did, they struggled. So I don't understand how that's a fair argument. Let's see, who did Sugar Ray Robinson fight? He fought Randy Turpin, okay? And I don't even know if you can call him that slick of a fighter, but he lost the first time, and then even in the second fight, he struggled until he knocked him out in, whatever it was, the 8th round. He fought Kid Gavilan, the Cuban guy. He struggled with that fight. But most of the other guys that he fought were flat-footed, slow white guys. And you're accusing Floyd Mayweather of fighting nothing but flat-footed, slow Mexican guys. It it's not a fair argument to me. Um, let's see, what else do you want to say? You want to say that he hasn't fought enough prime Hall of Fame fighters. Okay? To me, in my honest opinion, the Hall of Fame is just as much of a popularity contest as these ridiculous ranking systems that we have today. Okay? Um, like 7-8 brought up, Arturo Gatti. Arturo Gatti, rest in peace. He was a blood and guts warrior, whatever you want to call it. He gave the fans great fights, but Floyd Mayweather beat the living shit out of him. And if that's the skill that it takes to become a Hall of Fame fighter, then what does it really mean to fight a Hall of Fame fighter? I mean, you go look back at the tapes of all the Hall of Fame fighters that your idol Sugar Ray Robinson fought, and tell me what is so special about them. Just like 7-8 said, drop Arturo Gatti back in the 1930s and he would have been talked about as a dominant legend, okay? And a lot of these idiot fans would have probably been talking about how he would have killed Floyd Mayweather because he was so tough, or whatever it may be. I want you to just imagine, because you like to compare this era to the 80s, the golden era of boxing with the Fantastic Four, Leonard, Hearns, Duran, and Hagler. Can you explain to me what the difference is between that era and today? Let's imagine if Floyd Mayweather wasn't around, okay? Because Floyd Mayweather is around and he fights all these guys and makes them look ordinary. Let's imagine he didn't exist, okay? And we had Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez, Miguel Cotto, Timothy Bradley, and Ruslan Provodnikov, okay? All these guys are fighting each other, and they're all having great fights, great trilogies. How do you know that, like I said, if Floyd Mayweather wasn't around, how do you know that they wouldn't have been comparing this era to that era and saying that the guys that I just listed weren't, the Fantastic Four of today's age? I just think that it's impossible for you to compare fighters of yesterday to the fighters of today, as far as you saying that the competition was so much stiffer back then. How can you tell me that, how do you know that Miguel Cotto wouldn't have just completely dog-walked someone like Jake LaMotta? How do you know that Juan Manuel Marquez wouldn't have completely destroyed Kid Gavilan? You don't. There's no way to prove that. So, like I said, to me, that argument is null and void. As the same thing with the whole resume argument. And yeah, the whole resume thing is black and white, like you said. So you have all the right in the world to stand by that argument. However, I'm going to bring it up again. How do you know that the guys back in the day wouldn't have, would have beat the guys from today? As a matter of fact, I was just watching a documentary called AKA Cassius Clay, alright? And if you don't believe what I say, then you should believe what Muhammad Ali says, because according to you, he's in your top 3 best fighters of all time, okay? There's footage of him talking to Customato, alright? I'm sure you guys know who Customato is, but for those of you who don't, he was an old school boxing guru. He trained Mike Tyson in his early years. He trained Floyd Patterson when he was, he trained Floyd Patterson from when he was like, 10 or something, all the way up to when he won the championship. He taught Teddy Atlas everything he knows. He was basically like a modern day, or Teddy Atlas is basically a modern day Customato, okay? Boxing guru, he knew it all. And he was talking to Ali about how Joe Louis would have beat him and how Jack Johnson would have beat him and blah blah blah, okay? And Ali is sitting there breaking down their fights and basically telling Customato that this is a different day, this is a different era, okay? The guys back in the day, they were not exposed to the same type of things that, you know, the guys of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond were, okay? And, you know, Ali, you know, he talked a lot of shit, yeah, but I thought it was interesting because, you know, in this documentary, when him and Customato are arguing, as Ali is basically shitting on the technique of the old school fighters, okay, the guys that you idolize, as Ali is basically breaking down and shitting on their technique, they're showing clips of their fights, okay? For example, I think they were showing a clip of Ali versus, what's that German, I'm sorry, not Ali, Joe Louis versus that German dude that he lost to, Max Schmeling, okay? And in the rematch, you know, Joe Louis hurts him with a right hand, and Ali's like, "Are you kidding me? He's hurt. Why isn't he holding? You know, he's standing there and getting punched. Why isn't he moving? Why isn't he circling?" And you know, they're going through old clips, and Ali's just going on, pointing out things that fighters back in the day just didn't do. Okay, whether you guys want to admit it or not, boxing has evolved. Okay, I mean, I respect the Henry Armstrongs and the Joe Lewises and the Jack Johnsons because they were dominant in their era and they were ahead of their time. But in my opinion, if you dropped them in the ring today, I don't think they would go very far against, you know, the fighters of today. I just think that everything evolves, okay? Everything does. Everything gets better. People get better. Records are made to be broken. All right? And, you know, like I said, if you don't want to take my word for it, then why don't you take your boy Ali's word for it? You know, he couldn't have said it better, and I thought that was very interesting that Ali was pointing that out, because I had been thinking that the entire time. You know, a lot of you guys want to give so much props to these fighters of the past because of their accomplishments and, you know, how many Hall of Fame fighters that they fought and how many times a year that they fought, blah, blah, blah. I mean, are you watching the actual fight? Are you watching what they do technically? Because to me, their technique is not even close to the average fighter of today. Okay? Shit, you know, I'm doing this off the top of my head, so if I'm all over the place, I apologize. But another thing that you brought up is the fact that they fought so many more times back in the day. Well, let me tell you something. We know a lot more about the human brain than they did back in the 30s, okay? Do you think it would be legal for these guys to fight every week, every month, like they used to back in the day? Fuck no. Not only would the fighters of today not be stupid enough to risk their long-term health by getting their fucking heads bashed in every week, but the commission wouldn't even allow it. So, I mean, when you say something like that, you're basically saying that there will never, ever be a fighter like Sugar Ray Robinson or Henry Armstrong ever again. And maybe there isn't. Maybe, if you want to take that as a compliment and attribute that to their toughness and say they were tougher back in the day, that's fine. But like I said, I'm talking about skill for skill here, okay? Boxing isn't a tough man contest. It is a competition of skill. All I care about is who is the best at winning. I don't care about who's tougher, who's willing to endure more punishment, okay? Let's see, another thing that you brought up is that Floyd Mayweather ducked fighters, okay? No, he didn't. All right, I'm not gonna. If I go over that again, I already went over this in one of my past videos, proving that he did not duck a prime Miguel Cotto, proving that he did not duck a prime Margarito. Okay, like I said, I'm not gonna go over that because that's just gonna make the video way too long. But if you want, message me. I'll send you the articles, or I'll even make another video just so I can prove it. The only fighter that I'll give you that I do not know why he didn't fight, I'm sorry, and he could have lost that fight, is Paul Williams, okay? Don't know why he didn't fight Paul Williams, and yeah, that's just it. But a lot of the other guys that you say that you would have liked to see Floyd fight, first of all, they're not Hall of Famers. They will never be Hall of Famers. Okay, you're naming what, Cintron and I don't even know, but you named a lot of guys that even if Floyd Mayweather fought them, he would have missed out on fighting the guys that he did fight. And then guess what? You would have been saying that he ducked Carlos Baldomir and Zab Judah and Shambre Mitchell and whoever else, okay? And as far as Floyd Mayweather's attitude goes, you saying that all he does is fight for the money and blah blah blah, the attitude of the old fighters was different. No, it wasn't, okay? All these guys were hungry when they were broke. And then when they got to the top, they all started making demands. They all started, claiming how much they were worth and saying how much money they wanted to make. 7-8 already hit you with this point. I think it was one of the first things that he said. But almost all the criticisms that you're giving to Floyd Mayweather, almost all of them could be said about any given great fighter in the past. If you don't think so, drop a name and I'll make a video saying, criticizing them for the same exact thing. Like you said, everyone has ducked someone, okay? Even Sugar Ray Robinson. And this goes with two of my points, the whole money aspect, the whole attitude aspect, and the whole ducking aspect. I've watched numerous Sugar Ray Robinson documentaries, okay? And self-admittedly, he did not want to fight Charlie Burley. Why? Because he said Charlie Burley was too good, alright? I don't know if that is, I don't know if he was being sarcastic, but we do know that Charlie Burley was a legitimate threat, and we do know that the fight never happened, alright? Can you imagine if Floyd Mayweather Jr. came out and said, I don't want to fight Manny Pacquiao because he's too good? He would be fucking crucified, okay? Not to mention, people are coming down so hard on Floyd Mayweather Jr. because they say he only fights for the money. He doesn't care about legacy, alright? He handpicks his opponents, which, by the way, kind of off subject, but he was being completely sarcastic in that whatever it was, 24/7 or All Access episode where he admitted to cherry picking his opponents. He was being sarcastic. So guys, please stop. Don't grab that and run with it because, just stop, alright? Anyways, Floyd Mayweather, you might think that he fights only for the money, but that's not even necessarily really true, okay? And if you want to crucify him for that, once again, go watch a Sugar Ray Robinson documentary. You will hear him say this, okay? I'm quoting this. Sugar Ray Robinson said, "I hate boxing. It's barbaric. And the only reason I do it is for the money." So that's another one of those things where if people want to come at Floyd talking about how he doesn't have the attitude of a champion, or he's not a great because he only fights for the money, you guys are on bullshit, alright? But anyways, a lot of the things that I just said are the speculation part of it. Blood, you might look at it as black and white. You might see it as being written, being on paper, and being proof. But a lot of the things you say do not prove that the fighters of old were better than the fighters today. Okay? They just don't. I mean, if we made half of Floyd Mayweather's opponents Hall of Famers, if all of a sudden you saw that, Zab Judah and Henry Brucelis and Chambray Mitchell and Victor Ortiz, Canelo Alvarez, if they were all inducted into the Hall of Fame, would you give Floyd Mayweather props just because they were inducted into the Hall of Fame? Because if you do, to me that's ridiculous. And what I'm going to get into right now is, to me, the only way that we can judge who the best fighters of all time are, okay? Because like I said, to me, that Hall of Fame shit, that's just as much of a popularity contest as these crazy rankings we have. If Arturo Gatti is a Hall of Fame fighter, God bless his soul, rest in peace, but the guy was not that good, okay? If Arturo Gatti is a Hall of Famer, why can't half these other guys be Hall of Famers? If that's what we're talking about, if you have to reach a certain skill level to be a Hall of Famer, then why aren't a bunch of these other guys that Floyd fought Hall of Famers who are clearly better than Arturo Gatti? Can someone please explain to me that? Okay, like I said, the first half of this video, or everything that I just explained, that is the part that, you're probably gonna argue with me, and those are your biggest arguments, unless I'm leaving something out. Like I said, I'm doing this off the top of my head, so if I miss something, I apologize. Probably come back and do a part 2 to this, but now let me make my case for why Floyd Mayweather is at least top 5 greatest fighters of all time. Okay? Let's forget about the belts. Let's forget about the Hall of Fame. Let's forget about the resume, okay? Because you can spot talent. If you know what you're watching, you can spot talent no matter who the opponent is. Just like when college football scouts go to high schools and they look for players that they want to give scholarships to, or draft, or whatever you want to call it, they're playing against high school players, okay? So the players that they're playing against aren't going to compare to what they're going to be going up against in college or in the NFL. But guess what? That scout can still see who, how good a certain player is and how far a certain player will go. And I think it's the same in boxing. When, um, if you know your boxing, when certain prospects are coming up, you can see how far they're gonna go. Okay, no, they still have to prove themselves, of course, but just by the things that they do in the ring, you can tell whether they're gonna be a good prospect or not. And that's what I'm basing everything off of, the eye test, what we can actually see, what skills do these guys present, okay? And we all know styles make fights, okay? We all know that. So, um, let's just take a look at some of your favorite fighters. I like to use Ali as my favorite example. If I'm not mistaken, he's in your top 3, correct? Let's look at his skill set, okay? Some might call him a pure boxer. I'd call him more of a boxer puncher. But let's look at some of his flaws, alright? He fought the same way all the time. I'm not going to say he couldn't adjust, because all boxers can make small adjustments in the ring, but as far as giving someone different looks and being able to deal with different opponents, Ali wasn't the best at that. We all know what he had problems with, okay? He had problems with infighters. He couldn't handle infighters. He dominated, but when there was a guy that could go in there and rough him up on the inside, he couldn't handle it, okay? That's why it was life or death. It was always life or death with him and Joe Frazier. That's why it was always life and death with him and Ken Norton. That's why he lost to Leon Spinks, and this is a Leon Spinks that had 7 fights under his belt when he beat, quote unquote, the greatest of all time, Muhammad Ali. Okay? This is something that's tangible. We could see this, I'm sorry, not tangible, but this is something that we can see with our eyes. Okay? Ali couldn't handle a certain type of fighter. Then let's look at his flaws, okay? His fundamental flaws. He kept his hands down all the time. He never went to the body. And when he got a punch thrown at him, he never ducked or slipped the proper way, or blocked a punch, or, rolled the shoulder and countered like Floyd Mayweather did. He never did anything like that. He pulled his head straight back. And the only reason he got away with that is because he was faster than everyone, by far. Okay? To me, that's not skill. That's relying on athletic ability. Alright? And that started to show. Once he got older and those reflexes started to go away, he wasn't the same fighter that he always was. Okay? And, that's another thing that I hold to high standards, is longevity. Okay? I believe that the fighters who rely on athletic ability, they do not last as long, because as soon as their athletic ability goes, they are no longer who they were. Okay? Just like, not, I'm not even gonna get into that, but anyways, you guys get where I'm coming from. So basically, we could see that Ali had a lot of flaws. Okay? And what I like to picture when I picture the greatest fighter of all time is let's take 7/8 top 50 best fighters of all time, for example. Let's say they all fought each other 3 times. So that's 147 fights, which would give you, blood, that would give you the amount of fights that you like fighters to have. Who would come out with the best record? Okay? To me, the guy that would come out with the best record would be the most versatile, most skilled guy. The guy who can fight any style, the guy who can make adjustments to any style, the guy who's the most well-rounded, okay? You know, like I said, in layman's terms, the guy who can beat any given fighter and win any given fight at any given time. We all know that that's not Muhammad Ali. Why? Because he had a problem with infighters, okay? Tyson would have tore him apart. And I'm not saying that Tyson is a better fighter than him, but just stylistically, you know, Tyson's an infighter. He was extremely fast. He was kind of like a Joe Frazier. I think Tyson would have tore Ali apart. All right? So, knowing that, in my opinion, versatility is the most important thing when we're talking about this, who's the most complete, most versatile fighter there is with the best defense there ever was? Alright, you want to talk about Floyd Mayweather? His offense is a 10. His defense is a 10. His infighting is a 10. His counterpunching, 10. His pure boxing, 10. His chin is a 10. His footwork is a 10. He has fought and beat and dominated fighters of every style, every walk of life. Okay, maybe he hasn't fought enough slick black fighters to please you, but he has fought them in the past, and he has dominated. There has never, in the history of boxing, been a fighter as dominant as Floyd Mayweather Jr., okay? Especially at the age of 36 going on 37. I mean, this is the part of the argument where people usually have nothing to say to me, okay? And I'm sure you probably have things to say about the resume and the Hall of Famers and all of that, but please, can someone please explain to me technically, okay? Not from what's on paper, but technically, why Floyd Mayweather doesn't belong with the all-time greats. Because from what I can see, just like Ali was making fun of the fighters of the past and picking out their technical their technical flaws. Can anyone point out Floyd Mayweather's technical flaws? Can anyone tell me what kind of fighter beats him? Please. I've asked so many people this. I've gotten into this argument with so many people, and this is usually the part where they call me a Flomo and say that I'm riding Floyd Mayweather's dick. But, hey man, if you can't handle the heat, that ain't my fault. You know, and Blood, I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm asking you to please tell me, boxing, skill-wise, where are Floyd Mayweather's flaws? You know, I truly believe that if you look at the criteria that I said, take the 50 best fighters of all time, have them fight each other 3 times, and, okay, why do I say they have to fight each other 3 times? Because I think that the mark of a true champion is that you can fight someone, lose to them, and come back the next fight and do something different and win. Okay? And not only does Floyd Mayweather can adjust between fights, he adjusts between rounds, okay? Even during the rounds. I don't think anyone can argue that he is one of the smartest boxers who ever lived, probably the smartest. So let's go back to my criteria. Take the 50 best boxers of all time, make them all fight each other 3 times. Alright? Who comes out with the best record? I think that Floyd Mayweather is that guy. Okay? Because if you look all throughout history, we can point at a guy and say, this guy had trouble with this style, this guy had trouble with this style. We can't say that about Floyd Mayweather. Okay? Like I said, in my criteria, versatility is key, and Floyd Mayweather is fantastic at everything he does. Okay? In my opinion, the top three guys would be Floyd Mayweather, number one, and then number two and three, I think it's a toss-up between Sugar Ray Robinson and Sugar Ray Leonard, because those two were also very versatile fighters. They could do it all. But even then, I don't think they were as well versed as Floyd Mayweather Jr. The only person that I see Floyd Mayweather Jr. losing to once, and he would probably come back and beat him the second and third time. I see him losing to Tommy Hearns, just because of Tommy Hearns' style, and because he was so long and lanky, and he had that insane reach. Tommy Hearns' best combination was the exact same punch that Mosley hit Floyd with, jab to the stomach and straight right over the top. If that would have been Tommy Hearns hitting Floyd Mayweather with that, I think that would have been lights out. That's just my opinion. I'm not going to sit here and say that Floyd Mayweather would have been undefeated, but because of his versatility, and because he is so good at everything, because he can adjust to anything, I think he would come out with the best record under my criteria. And to me, that makes him one of the best, if not the best fighter of all time. Alright? Blood, I hope you hear this. 7-8, I hope you hear this. Let me know what you guys think. If I missed anything, I'll make a part 2. But, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's my opinion. Fire one back at me. Peace.